thing, or are we just doing the cameras? Perfect. So I'll just play like I'm not certain. Good afternoon. Oops, it's not afternoon yet. It's still morning. My apologies. We got 34 more minutes. Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are getting ready to start the town hall. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and thank you for those of you that are online for joining us. We really appreciate all of your encouragement and your involvement in the process, so thank you. And thank all of you that are here in the sanctuary. And I think if we can go to the first slide, very good. And then the next one. And see if I can keep up with you, Kathy. I'll try. So just as we did today during the service, we always start our town halls with, again, our quantum living process to remember who it is that we are, why we're here, what our purpose in this sanctuary and in this church is. So please forgive us when we're not being enough, distrusting, grieving, blaming, powerless, or fearful for who we truly are. What our essence is in this church and what this congregation is loving in integrity, unstoppable, spirit-led, empowered in ownership, and transformational, just as Reverend Tim talked about today, the transformational piece of who we are. At our last board meeting, we had 4 committees that briefed us with regards to things that are going on. The policy committee, strategic planning, youth and family services, and Unity School. Kind of went in that order because of the people that were presenting, and so we just went that direction. But we'll do it in the order that we've got up here, because those are the way. Policy committee. There's not a whole lot, just so everybody knows, there's not a whole lot that we're going to brief you about today, other than just kind of giving you an update. I want to let you know that policy committee has told us that all of our policies currently are up to date. Debbie will probably talk about a couple of the policies with regards to finance that she's in the process of working and making sure that we are covered completely in the finance area with check writing and a few things that way. But otherwise, the policies are up to date. And what we do with the policies is every year we re-look at all of the policies. Some of them are 2, but most of them are 1-year extensions. That's how long they are good, and then we re-look at them every year so that we make sure that we're not missing anything. There was a concern versus just a wondering where we are with regards to ethics on the board. Are all of us on the board cognizant of and in alignment with ethics? And our answer was, not only do we sign the Unity Church of Hawaii's ethics, code of ethics, we also sign Unity Worldwide Ministries code of ethics. So yes, we are well versed in what it is to be ethical on the board, etc. I think the reason that came up, just so everybody knows, is with regards to the gift acceptance policy. When we received some property that came in as a bequest to the church, it was a question of, it went into the endowment foundation. Why did it go into the endowment foundation? Is there a reason it goes into the endowment foundation? And the answer is very clear. Yes, completely it goes into the endowment foundation. And the reason it goes in is because the gift acceptance policy that the church membership, everybody, agreed upon and voted upon 3 years ago was that all property comes into the endowment foundation. Now, the only way to change that and to make a difference in that is if, for example, you wanted to donate to the church a particular item. You'd need to let both the endowment foundation as well as the treasurer, the church know, I want a certain amount of this money to go into, when it is sold, into the church and not into the endowment foundation. So we're very good at being able to try to coordinate that and make sure that we are doing what is in the best interest of the person, of the person that donated the money to the church. We want to make sure we're in alignment with, coherence with the desires of the congregant, the bequester. So the gift acceptance policy, if you haven't read it, you may want to make sure that you understand completely what the gift acceptance policy is. It's Appendix 1 out of the bylaws, and so feel free to read that one. The other thing with regards to policy is that we elect the board of directors of the Endowment Foundation every January. So if there is a desire that you have, and any of you that are online, of wanting to be on the Endowment Foundation board, let us know. Let the church and the board of trustees know so that we can look at those names. There's a question.
I don't know what endowment means.
Sure. So this may be a little bit longer of a discussion, but let me just do it real quickly. So there was in the past something called Legacies of Aloha, which was money that was given to the church to be able to be used to keep the church in perpetuity in financial stead. What happened with that was that we on the board and other places weren't quite as cognizant of knowing that you can't borrow from the endowment, from Legacies of Aloha. You can't do it for salaries and other things, and so we borrowed. So that's why the church and the Endowment Foundation is now paying the Endowment Foundation for the money that was taken from the Endowment Foundation when it wasn't supposed to. So the difference between the church and the Endowment Foundation is the church is a 501c3, nonprofit organization. The Endowment Foundation is a 509a3, which is a supporting organization for the church. So the church is up here, Endowment Foundation is off to the side. The Endowment Foundation has its own bylaws, it has its own everything, it's got its own board of directors, but the reason that they exist is to make sure that the monies that are given to the Endowment Foundation are being managed appropriately, and what happens with the Endowment Foundation is that it pays 4% of all of the money that's in there to the church every year. So 1% per quarter comes over to the church, which at present, we'll just use a round figure. That is a much longer conversation. The reason that we don't give it all to the church is that in the past, when it came to the church, it got spent instead of making sure that we are taking care of the church in perpetuity. Okay, so it's long-term planning and being able to make sure that we're doing what's in the best interest of the church. You are most welcome, most welcome. Thank you so much for the question. We want to be completely transparent in the process of all that we do, and I appreciate you asking. Very, very much. Thank you, Reverend Tony. See if I can get this one to work for me. I don't know whether it's going to work for me or not, so I will do it this way. So the next one that we were talking about, I think, is strategic planning. Thank you so much, Kathy, for helping me over there. Strategic planning is in the process of doing a lot of work with regards to planning for the future of this church. And I apologize, one of the slides up here is not complete. The first bullet isn't complete. The strategic planning has 3 initiatives. One is youth and family services. The second is for the holistic part of mind, body, spirit ministry. And the third is outreach. Thank you, thank you. I skitzed last night when I was doing. I couldn't remember the third part of that one. So the X's are outreach. I'm outreaching with all 4 arms and legs. How's that? Yeah, that wasn't a very good explanation, but my apologies. What happens with the strategic planning is that they rotate around who the chairman of the strategic planning committee is. Cindy Hensley is on there, Jerry Denton, and I always get myself in trouble whenever I start naming any of the people that are on any of the committees because I forget some of them. But know that they are rotating that around so that nobody feels that they are overwhelmed in the process. And they are really working outside the box, looking at all the possibilities, and great strategies are coming out of the group. So Cindy, Jerry, thank you so much. Next item I wanted to talk about, again, real briefly, is Unity School. As you know, During the Community Connection 2 weeks ago, we talked about the school moving into the education building so that they have got a doubly protected area, and so that we, as the church, have got an area down here that is on ground floor, so all of us that have got mobility issues will be able to easily get into the same area. There's going to be then some work that needs to be done. School is already in the process of looking at the education building, what all needs to be done. They're going to be putting someplace between $500,000 and $1 million into the education building so that that is redone. They've got to put in some different kinds of glass in the front for jalousies so that they've got all of the Department of Health and Education, that kind of stuff, parameters met. And they're going to be doing a whole lot of work. That building hasn't been painted since a lot of the parents were here as students, and they come and they say, this building looks just like it did when I was a student here 35 years ago, and they say, well, it's because it looks just like it does because it hasn't been worked on since then. So anyway, they're going to be moving, so what we're needing to do is make sure that we are in alignment and we know what it is that needs to happen for the cottage as well as the school doing what they need to do. If there is anything that comes up that is a showstopper, we'll stop at that point, but the board is in alignment with having the school move into that area. And what we're in the process of doing at the present time too is looking at the legal responsibilities and or the enmeshment that may be present for having a school under the church's 501c3. If anything happens, does the church, are they involved in any of the litigation that may happen? And is there a smarter way for us to do with having the school like having a 509c3, a supporting organization for the church? So we're in the process of looking at all of the legalities of what that might be. We haven't come to a conclusion. We're going to be listening to what the attorneys have to tell us from the school as to what might be in our best interest as a church. Youth and Family Services used to be under the Strategic Planning Committee. It has now been moved out of the Strategic Planning Committee into a committee of its own, so it's now an ad hoc committee that quarterly presents to the board. They have been meeting now for 4 to 6 months, and they are working extremely hard on an online keiki curriculum so that kids can come online to be able to do some of the Sunday school stuff. I don't know exactly where that all will lead, but if you look at what the kids are now doing, sitting in a classroom with COVID and with other things, we're learning all kinds of new ways of being able to engage kids. And so where we go with that is to long term, we're in the process of looking and trying to figure out. Those were the committees that presented to us. And Debbie, would you mind coming up and giving us some of the numbers piece? And I'll let you have that one.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so our receipts for the month of August was a total of $30,000, $30,497. That's our total income. That is made up of our donations of $14,000, almost $15,000, and then another $15,000 coming in from the school and other other ministries that use our space within this campus. And so our disbursements were $33,000. Another disbursement that we do, we follow our unity principles and make sure that we tithe every month. So we have this item that says CODR, means the cost of direct revenue. So it's the cost of sending out our tithes for the month, as well as the cost of fees that we are charged by the bank. And so the combination of revenue minus our disbursements came out to, for the month of August, $4,093.73. The cumulative amount of our net ordinary income is also a negative $28,971 from January to June. Now, we did have HUG's loan forgiveness back in May sometimes, which was $500. And so our total shortfall comes out to $28,436. Now, Thomas was talking about the finance policies. During this year, we completed our tithing policy. We did some cleaning up of the tithing policy, our check signing policy, as well as the Board of Trustees access to accounting records. This gives them times when they make requests of any financial documents, the time that they can expect to receive those documents and which documents that they can expect to receive. In addition, what's being drafted right now is a policy that will dictate our reserve funds. How many reserve funds or how much in reserve funds should we retain? What will trigger the use of those reserve funds? How do we continue to replenish those reserve funds? Last year, our fundraising was to establish the reserve. So we currently have $56,000 in reserve, and we may need to use them, but all of those policies are currently being reviewed and will be established before the end of the year. In addition, our restricted and designated funds policy we are drafting because we are very careful to make sure that any of our funds that have been designated by our congregation are used in that way that was requested. So we do have our music fund. We have a computer fund from a couple of years ago. People donated money because we had requested monies for computer fund. We have almost $3,200 in that fund. There's a fund for media, audio, visual, as well as a fund that we use for Wednesday night music. And I think that that's everything as far as our finances are concerned for the month of August.
Debbie, thank you very, very much. While we're on that slide, if we can go back, Deb, one thing that I'm sorry, Kathy, if you could go back to the slide with the finance piece. One of the important pieces on here, Tony, to be able to follow through with you, you will notice on there other income of $15,000. That is income that comes in from the counseling center, the wellness center, from the school. So we are bringing in over $150,000 to be able to help augment and supplement the price of this church, of what it is that we're doing. With the endowment foundation starting, it's a little complicated because you do the average of 12 rolling quarters. But when it gets to where it's going, there'll be about $80,000 a year that will be coming in from the endowment foundation. So it will then go, this number of 15 will be going up to like 80,000 divided by 12, so 7,000. So that will go up considerably with the endowment foundation putting somewhere in the neighborhood of 70, 80,000 a year into the operating expenses of the church. It could be used for a variety of things. We could decide as a church we want to spend that on sprucing things up. You name it, but that money will be coming into the church as a part of what it is that we're doing. I want to remind all of you that are online or that are on chat or on anything else, please send any questions that you have to Cindy. Just put it in as a chat question and we'll be happy to answer any of those questions as they come in. And we're at a place of being able to answer questions. What questions do people have that they would like to have answered? Bonita. Would that be possible, Reverend Tim? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You did that very well, Reverend Vana.
It's the mic guy.
Exactly.
I just had a question about someone asked me about the kitchen and when we're going to start having
Perfect.
breakfast.
Yeah, let me address that one. And one of the things that probably maybe nobody knows, but let me tell you, is that during the time of COVID, for the 2 years that we were no longer in, the freezer and the refrigerators that we've got in the kitchen died. They will not work. We cannot resurrect them. We had people come out and look at them and said, if I charge this up with new Freon, etc., it may last you a week, it may last you a month, but it's going to cost more for us to come out and try doing this every time than it's worth. I would not at all suggest doing that. And whenever a repairman tells you, I wouldn't suggest having me repair it, we kind of take that one seriously. And so what we are going to be doing with the 85th anniversary, 10,000 of that 85,000 we're trying to raise will be to replace 2 refrigerators and 1 freezer with commercial grade refrigerator and freezer. We can't really have Aloha breakfast down there, or we can't do missions and going into the prison and all kinds of other taking food if we don't have a refrigerator that works. And so as soon as that gets done and we get those bought, we are wanting to restart Aloha breakfast for people and be able to make that into somewhat of a kitchen that we can use for more than just Aloha breakfast, for a variety of things. And if we can get it for the Thanksgiving dinner that we're planning, we want to get that in so that we can plan that. And we've got some people that have already said, yes, I will step up to the plate and I will fix meals for you for the Thanksgiving dinner. So we are blessed. We are truly blessed. Other questions that our people have? The nursery. So the nursery is currently down here in the cottage. The nursery will be moving into the education building, and the kids will be altered, moved around a little bit. We didn't think we could do it, quite honestly. We were told all along, you cannot have upstairs with the kids. Sergio said, well, let me check. He went to Department of Education, Health, etc., and they said, there's no reason you can't have an upstairs, downstairs in your preschool. It's fine with us. So that's why we're in the process of moving all of the kids into what we found out was, in fact, a workable situation. At present, we are having flowers in there, and what exactly happens with all that, we are fluid, and we are looking all the time at what is in the best interest of the church. What is in the best interest of the missions and the ministries that we have? One of our ministries is wellness. One of our ministries is counseling. One of our ministries is the weddings and the rest of that. And in order to be able to make this campus look good enough to be able to bring Japanese weddings that used to bring in somewhere around 10,000 a month, in order to do that, we're going to have to take care of the campus. And so we are very happy with the stuff that's going on. Yes, we do. A fair amount of money on that. Yes, so the question was, are the flowers and our contributions coming in from Aloha Aina? And the answer is a multitude of yeses. Number one, there are contributions that come in. We never talk about rent because we do not rent out space. You can't do that and be able to be a 501c3. But what you can do is accept donations and contributions. So they do that. Number two, all of the plants that are out here have been donated in. There is a huge amount of money and or benefit that's coming to the church by having them working. And you can ask Galindo what all gets done there. He's out there every day working diligently and patiently with all of us that sometimes don't know exactly what we're doing, but he comes and very gently says, this isn't the best way of being able to plant that. If you do it the way you're doing it, it's all going to die. So let's see if we can do that this way. And I can only say that I don't know anything about gardening. You can tell by my brown fingers instead of my green fingers that that's not my thing. But anyway, he's doing a marvelous job of helping it. And I haven't seen this area that used to be brown. I think it was dirt. Maybe it was a little bit of dead grass down here. It's now greened up, and it's really looking good. And he has also gone around and fixed all the sprinklers. Something that we thought we were going to have to spend an extra $10,000 on to get people to come in and do it, and most of the sprinkler systems have been fixed for us. So I don't know whether I answered your question. I think I probably over-answered your question, but I'm just very happy with the stuff that is happening with him. He's a very diligent and a resourceful person who's bonded with us in our church. Other questions that come up? I don't hear any. Did I hear somebody? Yes, Catherine.
Let me get a microphone. I'm sorry. It's helpful. Oh, yeah. I was just wondering, when will you be announcing things about the anniversary?
Anniversary. That's a great question. So the question was, when are we going to start talking about the anniversary? Next Sunday. Okay. Next Sunday, and so we're going to bring it up next Sunday. All of the letters should go out electronically on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of this week to be able to go out to 800 people that we've got on our mailing list, and letting people know what it is that we're doing, why it is, and what it is that the projects are for the church, how much each of those cost. You may and may not know there was some smoke smelt in this cottage over here where Deja Vu and that kind of stuff, Aloha Ain now is. And so there's some electrical work that needs to be done, and it's got to be done fairly expeditiously. And so we've got a bid for it, and we're going to get that one worked on as soon as we get some of the money to be able to do so. So yes, we're going to start that next Sunday. There's going to be a break for the 9th because we're going to have the induction ceremony with Reverend Tim, and then we'll hit it again fairly hard during the rest of the month and November.
Reverend
Tim, please.
I just wanted to say that a lot of people are going to receive that letter by email. Some will receive a physical letter, but a large number will receive it by email, so be watching for that.
Yep, we plan on everybody getting an email letter coming out on, again, Wednesday, Thursday, to be able to say thank you for being ongoing stewards of this church and letting people know what this church does. What are our missions? Why do we exist? What is the benefit of even having this building? What are we here for? Who are we? What is our mission? And so we're trying to spell that out and let people know what we are doing with a preschool, with all of the rest of the stuff that we do, with the missions and the visions of what it is that we're doing. It's impressive, the number of kids that come through this school, with 100 kids a year that are in the school, 98, 94, but we'll just say 100, and raising 100 kids' lives that have that have been touched. And the reason I kind of get a little bit teary in the process of this is that one of the parents came up to me and he said, "Do you realize I was a student here? And my best friends at Punahou and at Iolani were the kids that I met in this school, and they were my friends all the way through school. And I had a closest bond to them of everybody in the school." And it's touching to know that that's what we are doing when we're touching lives. We're inspiring kids, and we're making a positive difference in this world, a huge positive difference. So pardon me for having an emotional response, but it's amazing. It's so amazing. I know I am. I thought if I go fast enough, I'll be able to get through this one without having. I know it, Ralph. You and I are both kind of tear babies, so my apologies. But it is as it is. It's heartfelt. Any other questions that people have? Oh yes, Cindy.
It could happen. Yeah. I don't have a question. I have one comment from our viewers, from actually one of our congregants, Juliet Carlson, who just wanted to say to Reverend Tim today about what a great message that it was about the Live Aloha, and that she was really touched by that. And in that vein of living aloha, and Thomas, kind of piggybacking on what you were talking about with the school and how lives are being touched, and we continue to live the aloha. It was just a few weeks ago, I was in my favorite little place in Hawaii Kai, where I go to the Leahi, little great food at Leahi, by the way. And it was after service, and they're like, "Oh, you look so nice," or whatever. I'm like, "Oh, it's just a church." And they're like, "Well, what church do you go to?" And I said, "Well, I go to Unity Church of Hawaii." Oh my gosh, I went to preschool at Unity Church of Hawaii with teacher Linda. I'm like, well, she was still there last I knew.
Amen.
And she said, and all my friends, are from that time. And I just wanted to say again, it's not just an isolated incident. We are changing lives. And so I just wanted to put that out there for everybody, just another opportunity to share how it's happening. So thank you.
Amen, most certainly. Yep, this is an amazing place. It's amazing that we have the property. It's amazing that we can afford having and being right here where we are. And we are ready to position to take off and say, let us make a difference in the world. As Reverend Tim said, Hawaii is the place to make a difference in the world. And there isn't a better place in Hawaii than this church at looking at what can we do to inspire people to make a positive difference in the world with whatever path you are on. Let us help you with being able to make a difference, not only in your life, but in the people that you meet. Can't do better than that. Catherine.
Yes, I'm glad you're sitting here because the question is to you. And so you must have known it, your spirit. And I am walking away from this sermon, which is just a wonderful thing, with your statement that Hawaii is the place where we live and can learn about peace on earth. And I've never heard it quite put exactly that way in with all the aloha. And I went, wow. And so the reason I'm speaking is two things. On Wednesday night, my question will be to you, can you say a little bit more about what you do on Wednesday night when you're going to do in depth? Is it going to be like, community connection where everybody shares afterwards? And I also just want to plug that at 7 o'clock, so yours is 5 to 6, at 7 to 8, we have the Wednesday evening service with New Thought music and sharing. So it's a neat evening to really get a midweek faith lift. But please share. Can you share a little bit more?
Certainly, yeah. Thank you. So I wanted to find a time. There used to be the community connection right after the Sunday morning service where some of those people who have been watching online could connect with the minister, and talk about their lives, talk about the service, talk about the message. I wanted to pick something in midweek so that we could do a deeper dive into the message. So what we did this last Wednesday, and it'll continue to be something like this, is for people to have the opportunity to ask questions, make comments, to go deeper about how do I apply the message from last Sunday? How do I apply living aloha in my everyday life? What are examples of ways that I've done that or that I've seen others do that? What questions do I have about that? What do you mean when Tutu said that Hawaii is the place to teach this, and then his disciple Palahi said the same thing, that we are the place to be teaching aloha and teaching peace on earth, that actually saying the world will turn to us to find the way to be at peace. What does that mean? How does that look? How does that show up in a practical way? I mean, Those are just examples. So it's an opportunity to stay with the message, but to interact with me and with each other and go deeper into what the message is about, how we apply that. And so, if the Sunday morning message were interactive, then we'd have that opportunity. This gives us the opportunity, whether you were here in person or online, to be able to interact and go more deeply into the message. And to me, the Latin word praxis comes to mind, that it's a way of discovering, how do I practice this in everyday life? And it gives me help because, like this last Wednesday, someone said, oh, it meant so much to me. This was last Sunday. It meant so much to me when you described us as like the presence of God being like the water, and we're like the fish that are in the water. We're immersed in that. We're breathing and having our life because of that water. We are so immersed in God that God is everywhere fully present, including as our lives. And when they said that, I thought, and this is what I said, wow, that is beautiful, isn't it? I mean, I needed to hear it. When I'm giving the message, I'm in another kind of state sometimes. So I needed to hear that on Wednesday. I needed to hear that, oh yeah, we're immersed in the presence of God. I'm never separate from it. It was exactly what I needed to hear, and I'm the one who had said it on the Sunday before. So it's a way to remind ourselves and get that faith lift about, here's how we're practicing it. Does that speak to it? Yeah.
I can't wait till Wednesday. I have to say something. And so we're starting. We'll be here another couple hours. No, just joking. But I want to say two things. While you were answering that question, I realized that being here in the middle of the Pacific, we have, all the religions here. We have so many of the nationalities and so many indigenous. I mean, it's an incredible place to have the Parliament of World Religions and of indigenous people. So I hope we can talk about that on Wednesday. But what just came to me that I want to leave us with here in the town hall meeting is a great question is, and what could Unity Church of Hawaii do to support that? I don't quite have the answer to that yet. And I just want to leave that question. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Catherine. Any other questions? Cindy, anything coming in from outside? Any from here? Yes, please.
Not really a question. It's not really a question, but it's just what she just said, and his sermon today reminded me of what I so often tell people, especially if they're visiting Hawaii or my family on the mainland. I said every person in the world throughout the world should live in Hawaii for at least 1 year, because every race, creed, color, and religion is a minority, and yet we seem to live together in peace and harmony and get along.
Very well said. Very well said. Thank you. All right. Seeing no other questions, if we can, let's rise and we'll sing Weave, Weave. Where did Ralph go? Ralphie, come here. You got to lead us in Weave.
Weave us together, weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together, weave us together in unity and love.
Thank you. Blessings to all.